The church bells rang, sharp and insistent, slicing through the humid Maine air like a warning. I stood at the back of the chapel, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. My sister Lily was about to walk down the aisle, and I was supposed to smile, clap, and pretend I wasn't dying inside. I'd always known Lily was different, not just because she was my sister, but because she carried a light no one else could match. Growing up in our small coastal town of Bar Harbor, she was the one who climbed the highest cliffs, laughed the loudest, and loved with a fierceness that scared me. At 30, she was a force. A marine biologist with a sharp mind and a sharper tongue, her dark hair cropped short, her blue eyes always searching for something just out of reach. I, Emma, 2 years younger, was the quieter one, the artist who hid behind sketchbooks and soft smiles, my chestnut hair always a little messy, my green eyes too honest for my own good. We were opposites yet inseparable, until she met James. James was everything our town adored. Charming, steady, a fisherman's son with broad shoulders and a grin that could sell you a dream. When Lily brought him home 3 years ago, I saw the way our parents beamed, the way the town whispered, perfect match. I swallowed my unease, telling myself it was just sisterly protectiveness. But deep down I knew it was more. I knew it every time Lily's hand brushed mine, every time her laugh made my chest ache, every time her gaze lingered a second too long. I loved her. Not just as a sister, but as something I couldn't name, something I buried under years of guilt and fear. The chapel was packed, the pews overflowing with neighbors in their Sunday best. Lilacs scented the air, their sweetness cloying. I adjusted my dress, a pale blue thing that felt too tight, and scanned the crowd for Lily. She was in the back room, probably adjusting her veil, her laughter echoing faintly through the walls. I wanted to run to her, to beg her to stop, to tell her what I'd never dared say. But I stayed rooted, my sketchbook clutched like a shield, my pencil smudged from nervous hands. "Emma, you okay?" My best friend Clara nudged me, her brown eyes soft with concern. She'd known me since we were kids, knew the way I'd always watched Lily a little too closely. I nodded, forcing a smile, but my throat burned. How could I explain that I was losing the person I loved most to a man I couldn't hate, because he was good, because he was safe? The organ started, a low, mournful hum that signaled the ceremony's start. My stomach twisted. I pictured Lily in white, her smile radiant, her hand in James's. I pictured myself standing there, clapping like everyone else while my heart shattered. But then the doors opened and Lily stepped out. She wasn't wearing a veil. Her dress was simple, almost defiant, a tailored white suit that hugged her frame, her dark hair catching the light. She looked like she'd walked out of a storm, untamed and fearless. And her eyes, those piercing blue eyes, found mine across the room. The world slowed. The chatter faded. She didn't look at James, who stood at the altar, confused but smiling. She looked at me. "Emma," she said, her voice carrying over the organ, clear and steady. "You're the one." The room gasped. My sketchbook slipped from my hands, hitting the floor with a soft thud. Lily didn't move toward the altar. She moved toward me. The chaos that followed was a blur. Whispers turned to murmurs, then to shouts. Our mother stood, her face pale, her hands clutching her purse like a lifeline. James's smile faltered, his eyes darting between Lily and me, searching for an explanation. I couldn't breathe. Lily's words echoed in my head, each syllable a hammer against the walls I'd built around my heart. She reached me, her hand outstretched, her expression a mix of defiance and fear. "I can't do this," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I can't marry him, Emma. Not when it's you I've always loved." I froze, my mind reeling. Loved? The word was a spark, igniting years of stolen glances, late-night talks, moments I'd convinced myself were nothing. I wanted to grab her, to pull her close, to tell her I'd loved her since I was 16, since the summer we swam in the Atlantic and she held my hand under the waves. But the weight of the room, the eyes, the judgment crushed me. "Lily, what are you doing?" our father hissed, stepping forward. His voice was low, but it carried the anger of a man who'd planned this day for years. "This isn't the time for games." "It's not a game," Lily said, her eyes never leaving mine. "It's the truth." James approached, his face a mask of hurt. "Lily, talk to me. What's going on?" She turned to him, her shoulders squaring. "James, you're wonderful. But I can't lie anymore. I can't be what everyone wants me to be." Her voice softened, but it didn't waver. I'm in love with Emma. The room erupted. I felt Clara's hand on my arm, steadying me as my knees buckled. My mother's sob cut through the noise, sharp and raw. I wanted to disappear, to sink into the floor, but Lily's hand found mine, warm and firm, grounding me. We need to go, she said, her voice urgent. Now. I didn't think. I just followed. We ran out of the chapel, the summer air hitting us like a wave. The gravel crunched under our feet as we stumbled toward her truck, parked haphazardly by the cliff's edge. The ocean roared below, a wild, untamed thing mirroring the storm in my chest. Lily, stop. I gasped as we reached the truck. What are we doing? You just left him. You left everything. She spun to face me, her eyes blazing. I left a lie, Emma. I've been hiding who I am for years, pretending for Mom, for Dad, for this damn town. But I can't hide from you. She stepped closer, her breath warm against my cheek. Tell me you don't feel it too. I wanted to lie, to push her away, to protect her from the fallout I knew was coming. But her eyes held me, stripping away every defense. I've always felt it. I whispered, my voice breaking. But I'm scared, Lily. This will ruin everything. She cupped my face, her thumbs brushing my cheeks. Not us, she said. Never us. We stood there, the world falling apart around us, the ocean singing its ancient song. I didn't know what came next, how we'd face our family, our town, our own fears. But for the first time I felt alive, like I'd been holding my breath for years and finally exhaled. The truck's engine roared as Lily drove us away from the chapel, the tires kicking up dust that swirled in the rearview mirror like ghosts of the life we'd just abandoned. My hands trembled in my lap, my sketchbook forgotten on the chapel floor. A casualty of the truth we'd unleashed. The coastline blurred past, rugged cliffs, endless ocean, the kind of beauty that felt too big for the mess we'd made. Where are we going? I asked, my voice barely audible over the engine. Lily's hands gripped the wheel, her knuckles white. Somewhere we can think, she said. Somewhere we can be us. I didn't know what us meant anymore. Sisters? Lovers? Fugitives from a town that would never understand? I glanced at her, her jaw set, her eyes fixed on the road. She'd always been the brave one, the one who dove into the deep end while I stayed on the shore, sketching the waves. But now she dragged me into the current, and I wasn't sure I could swim. We ended up at Skudik Point, a rocky outcrop where the sea met the sky in a violent embrace. The parking lot was empty, the tourists long gone as dusk settled. Lily cut the engine, and the silence was deafening. We sat there, the weight of what we'd done pressing down like the tide. Say something, she said finally, her voice soft but urgent. I laughed, a brittle sound. What do you want me to say, Lily? You just blew up your wedding, our family, our lives. For what? For me. My voice cracked. I'm not worth that. She turned to me, her eyes fierce. Don't you dare say that. You're worth everything. She reached for my hand, but I pulled back, my heart racing. Lily, this isn't a fairy tale. This is Bar Harbor. People talk. They judge. Mom's probably crying her eyes out, and Dad? I stopped, picturing his face red with anger, his voice thundering about family honor. They'll never forgive us. Then we make them, she said, her voice steady. Or we leave. But I'm not losing you, Emma. Not again. Her words hit like a punch. I remembered the summer I was 16, when I'd almost told her how I felt. We'd been lying on the beach, the stars above us, her hand brushing mine as we talked about dreams. I'd wanted to kiss her then, to confess, but fear had stopped me. Fear of her rejection, of our family's disgust, of the town's whispers. So I'd stayed silent, and she'd met James, and I'd watched her slip away. I should have said something sooner, I whispered. But I was a coward. You're not a coward, she said, her voice softening. You're here now. We got out of the truck, the wind whipping our hair as we walked to the edge of the point. The waves crashed below, relentless, eternal. I wanted to believe we could be like that, unbreakable no matter what came. But the world felt too heavy, too sharp. Tell me what you're thinking, Lily said, sitting on a rock, her knees pulled to her chest. She looked vulnerable in a way I'd rarely seen, her bravado stripped away. I'm thinking about how much I love you, I said, the words spilling out before I could stop them. And how much that scares me. Because this us, it's not just about us. It's Mom crying, Dad shouting, James hurting. It's the whole town turning their backs. Lily's eyes softened, but she didn't look away. I know. But I've spent years trying to be what they wanted. The good daughter, the perfect fiancée. And every time I looked at you I knew I was lying. She stood, closing the distance between us. I don't want to lie anymore. Her words broke something in me. A dam I'd built to keep my feelings locked away. I reached for her, my fingers trembling as they brushed her cheek. She leaned into my touch, her eyes closing, and for a moment it was just us. No town, no family, no consequences. But reality crashed back. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A string of texts from Clara. Where are you? Your mom's a mess. James left. Call me. I showed Lily the screen and her face hardened. We need to face them, she said. Not tonight, but soon. They deserve to know why. Why? I asked, my voice shaking. Why now, Lily? You could have told me years ago. You could have walked away from James before the wedding. She looked out at the ocean, her expression unreadable. Because I was scared too, she admitted. I thought I could make it work with James. I thought I could be normal. But every time I saw you it was like the world stopped. And today, standing there in that chapel, I realized I'd rather lose everything than lose you. Her words were a lifeline, pulling me from the depths of my fear. I wanted to kiss her to seal this moment, but headlights cut through the dusk. A car pulling into the lot. My heart sank. It was our father's truck. He stepped out, his face a storm cloud. Get in the car, both of you, he said, his voice low and dangerous. We're going home. Now. Lily grabbed my hand, her grip tight. We're not kids anymore, Dad, she said. We're not running from this. He stared at us, his eyes flickering to our joined hands, and I saw something break in him. Anger, yes, but also pain. You've humiliated us, he said. You've humiliated James. This isn't how we raised you. Then you raised us wrong, Lily shot back, her voice trembling but firm. Because I love her, Dad. And I'm done pretending I don't. He didn't respond, just turned and got back in his truck, slamming the door. The engine roared to life and he drove off, leaving us in the dark. I looked at Lily, my heart pounding. What now? I asked. She squeezed my hand. We keep going, she said. Together. The next morning, our parents' house felt like a battlefield. The kitchen, once filled with laughter and the smell of Mom's blueberry pancakes, was now a minefield of silence and glares. Lily and I sat at the table, our hands clasped under it, her thumb tracing circles on my palm, a small act of defiance against the storm brewing across from us. Mom's eyes were red, her coffee untouched. Dad stood by the sink, his arms crossed, his face carved from stone. Explain yourselves, he said, his voice cold. And don't give me that nonsense from last night. Lily leaned forward, her jaw tight. It's not nonsense, Dad. I love Emma. I've always loved her. Marrying James would have been a lie. Mom let out a choked sob, her hand flying to her mouth. You're sisters, she whispered, as if saying it aloud would make it less true. This isn't right. It's not natural. I flinched, the word cutting deeper than I'd expected. I'd spent years wrestling with those same thoughts, lying awake at night, wondering if my feelings for Lily were wrong, sinful, a betrayal of everything we'd been taught. But hearing it from Mom, seeing the disgust in her eyes, made it real in a way I wasn't ready for. We're not sisters by blood, Lily said, her voice steady but sharp. You adopted Emma when I was 2. You know that. It was true. I'd been 6 months old when Mom and Dad brought me home, a quiet baby with no one else to claim her. Lily had been my protector, my confidant, my everything. But we weren't bound by biology, and that technicality felt like our only defense now. That doesn't matter, Dad snapped. We raised you as sisters. This is a disgrace. Then disown us, Lily said, her voice rising. If you can't accept who we are, we'll leave. I squeezed her hand, my heart racing. I wasn't ready for this, to lose our family, our home. But Lily's courage was contagious, and I found my voice. We're not asking for your permission, I said, my words shaky but clear. We're telling you who we are. Mom's sob broke the silence and she fled the room. Dad followed, his footsteps heavy. The kitchen felt emptier without them, but Lily's hand in mine kept me anchored. We should go, she said quietly. Give them time. We packed a bag and drove to Clara's apartment in town. Clara, bless her, didn't ask questions. She just hugged us, handed us tea and gave us her couch. "You two are trouble," she said, a wry smile breaking through her worry. "But I've got your back." That night, as Lily slept beside me, her breath warm against my shoulder, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. I thought about James, about the pain in his eyes when Lily walked away. I thought about our parents, about the town that would never look at us the same. But mostly I thought about Lily, her laugh, her strength, the way she made me feel like I could be brave too. The next day we faced the town. Bar Harbor was small, the kind of place where gossip spread faster than wildfire. By noon the whispers had started. At the coffee shop, the dock, the post office. I felt their eyes, their judgment like needles in my skin. Lily, though, walked with her head high, her hand in mine, daring anyone to say something. At the pier we ran into James. His face was drawn, his eyes tired. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice low. Lily nodded and I stepped back, giving them space but staying close enough to hear. "I'm sorry," she said. "I never meant to hurt you." He ran a hand through his hair, his jaw tight. "I thought we had something, Lily. I thought you loved me. I cared about you," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "But I wasn't honest with myself. I was trying to be someone I'm not." He looked at me, his eyes searching. "And her? She's what you want." Lily's gaze softened and she glanced at me, a small smile breaking through. "She's everything." James nodded, his shoulders sagging. "I hope you're happy," he said and walked away. I felt a pang of guilt, but Lily's hand found mine again, and the warmth of her touch eased the ache. "He'll be okay," she said. "And so will we." But the town wasn't as forgiving. That afternoon, a group of locals confronted us outside the library. "You're disgusting," one woman spat, her face twisted with anger. "You're tearing this town apart." Lily stepped in front of me, her voice calm but steel-edged. "We're not here to cause trouble. We're just living our truth." They didn't listen. The words got uglier, the crowd louder. I wanted to run, but Lily stood firm, her hand never leaving mine. Finally, Clara appeared, her voice cutting through the noise. "Back off," she said, her eyes blazing. "They're not hurting anyone." The crowd dispersed, but the damage was done. That night, as we sat on Clara's balcony, the weight of it all hit me. "Maybe we should leave," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Start over somewhere else." Lily looked at me, her eyes searching. "Is that what you want?" I didn't know. I wanted us, but the cost was higher than I'd imagined. "I just want to be with you," I said. "Without all this." She pulled me close, her lips brushing my forehead. "Then we'll find a way," she said. "No matter what." The days that followed were a tightrope walk. Lily and I stayed at Clara's, avoiding our parents' house, dodging the town's glares. But the tension was suffocating, like a storm waiting to break. I spent hours sketching Lily's face, the ocean, anything to keep my hands busy and my mind from spiraling. Lily, meanwhile, threw herself into work, her marine biology research a refuge from the chaos we'd unleashed. One evening, as we walked along the shore, the wind carrying the salt of the Atlantic, Lily stopped and turned to me. "I've been thinking," she said, her voice almost lost in the waves. "What if we moved to Portland? It's bigger, more open. We could start fresh." I hesitated. Portland was only a few hours away, but it felt like another world. Bar Harbor was all I'd ever known. The cliffs, the tides, the way the light hit the water at dawn. But staying meant fighting a battle we might not win. "What about your work?" I asked. "Your research?" "I can transfer," she said. "There's a Marine Institute there. And you could sell your art, Emma. You're good, better than you think." Her faith in me was a warmth I didn't deserve. My sketches were raw, emotional, but I'd never thought of them as anything more than a way to cope. "What about Mom and Dad?" I asked, my voice small. Lily's face softened. "They'll come around. Or they won't. But we can't live for them." I nodded, but the ache in my chest didn't fade. That night I called Mom, hoping for a crack in her silence. She picked up on the third ring, her voice weary. "Emma, why are you doing this?" "I'm not doing anything," I said, my throat tight. "I'm just loving her." She didn't respond, just hung up. I stared at the phone, tears blurring my vision. Lily found me, pulled me into her arms, and held me until the sobs stopped. The next day we started planning. Portland wasn't a cure, but it was a chance. A place where we could be us without the weight of a small town's judgment. We spent hours online looking at apartments, jobs, imagining a life where we could hold hands in public without fear. It felt like a dream, fragile but real. But Bar Harbor wasn't done with us. A week after the wedding, Clara rushed into her apartment, her face pale. "You need to see this," she said, shoving her phone at us. It was a local news article, the headline screaming, "Local woman disrupts wedding, sparks controversy with sister." The story was vicious, twisting Lily's courage into scandal, painting us as deviants tearing apart a perfect family. "They're calling for a town meeting," Clara said. "They want to address the situation." Lily's jaw tightened. "Let them talk. They can't stop us." But I wasn't so sure. The article mentioned our parents by name, called James a victim. The comments were worse, cruel, hateful, the kind of words that burned into your soul. I wanted to hide, but Lily was already grabbing her jacket. "We're going to that meeting," she said. "We're not running." The town hall was packed, the air thick with tension. We sat in the back, Clara beside us, her presence a quiet strength. The mayor, an old family friend, opened the meeting, his voice strained. "We're here to discuss recent events," he said, avoiding our eyes. "This town values tradition, family, and respect." The room murmured agreement. Then Mrs. Carter, the woman from the library, stood. "What they're doing is a sin," she said, pointing at us. "It's tearing our community apart." Lily stood, her voice cutting through the noise. "We're not tearing anything apart. We're just trying to live. To love. Why does that threaten you?" The room erupted, voices overlapping, some angry, some defensive. I wanted to shrink, but Lily's hand found mine, grounding me. Then to my shock, James stood up. "Enough," he said, his voice steady. I loved Lily. Maybe I still do. But she was honest with me, and that takes courage. If you're going to judge anyone, judge yourselves for turning on two people who just want to be happy. The room fell silent. James glanced at us, his eyes soft with something like forgiveness, then sat down. I felt tears prick my eyes, not just for his words, but for the weight of what we'd cost him. The meeting ended without resolution, but James's words lingered, a small crack in the town's armor. That night, as we lay in bed, Lily traced my jaw with her finger. "We're going to be okay," she whispered. "I promise." I wanted to believe her, but the article, the meeting, the hate, it was all too much. "What if we're not?" I asked. "What if this breaks us?" She kissed me then, soft and fierce, her lips a vow. "It won't," she said. "Because you're my home, Emma. Always." The next morning we packed our bags. Portland was waiting, a new chapter we'd write together. But as we loaded the truck, a car pulled up. It was Mom. She didn't speak at first, just looked at us, her eyes tired but softer than before. "I don't understand," she said finally. "But I don't want to lose you." It wasn't acceptance, not yet, but it was a start. We hugged her, tears falling, and promised to call. As we drove away, Bar Harbor shrinking in the rearview, I felt the weight lift just a little. Lily's hand rested on my thigh, her smile a beacon in the uncertainty. "We're free," she said, and for the first time I believed her. Portland was a whirlwind of noise and color, a stark contrast to Bar Harbor's quiet rhythm. Our apartment was small, a one-bedroom with creaky floors and a view of the city's skyline, but it was ours. For the first time, Lily and I woke up together without fear, our limbs tangled, our laughter free. I started selling my sketches at local markets, my art finding a home among strangers who saw beauty in my raw, emotional lines. Lily joined the Marine Institute, her passion for the ocean undimmed by the chaos we'd left behind. But freedom came with shadows. I'd catch myself looking over my shoulder, expecting judgment in every glance. Lily noticed, her hand always finding mine, her voice a steady reminder. "We're here. We're us." She was my anchor, but I worried I wasn't enough for her. Not brave enough, not strong enough, not worthy of the life she'd risked everything for. One evening, as we walked through the old port, the cobblestone streets alive with music and light, Lily stopped at a small gallery. My latest piece, a sketch of her at Scudic Point, her eyes fierce against the storm, was displayed in the window. "You're incredible," she said, her voice thick with pride. You don't see it, but the world does. I blushed and used to the praise. It's just you, I said. You make it easy. She kissed me then, right there on the street, and for once I didn't flinch. A few passers-by smiled. Others didn't notice. It felt like a miracle, this freedom to love her openly. But the past wasn't done with us. A month into our new life, Clara called. Your parents want to see you, she said. They're coming to Portland. My stomach dropped. Lily, overhearing, squeezed my hand. We'll face them together, she said, but her voice held a trace of fear. They arrived on a rainy Saturday, their faces drawn as they sat across from us in a quiet cafe. Mom spoke first, her voice trembling. We've been talking, she said. We don't understand this, maybe we never will. But you're our daughters. We want you in our lives. Dad nodded, his eyes fixed on the table. It's not easy, he said. But we're trying. It wasn't perfect, but it was more than I'd hoped for. We talked for hours, the conversation halting but honest. They didn't embrace us, not yet, but they listened, and that was enough. As spring turned to summer, Lily and I built a life that felt like ours. We hosted dinners with new friends, queer couples who welcomed us without question. I painted more, my work bolder, brighter. Lily's research thrived, her name appearing in journals, her passion infectious. We fought sometimes, over money, over fears, over the weight of what we'd left behind, but we always found our way back to each other. One evening, on the anniversary of the day we left Bar Harbor, Lily took me to the waterfront. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of coral and gold, just like the day she'd called me the one. She pulled a small box from her pocket, her hands shaking. Emma, she said, her voice soft but sure. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I want it with you. Will you marry me? I laughed through tears, my heart so full it hurt. Yes, I whispered, and she slipped a simple silver ring on my finger, her lips finding mine in a kiss that tasted like forever. We didn't need a church, a town, or anyone's approval. We had each other, and that was enough. As we stood there, the ocean singing its ancient song, I thought about the journey that brought us here, the pain, the fear, the courage. Love wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Every glance, every touch, every moment with Lily was a testament to that. Years later, when we told our story, first to friends, then to our children, adopted from a world that needed love as much as we didn't shy away from the hard parts. We told them about the chapel, the whispers, the nights we thought we'd break. But we also told them about the cliffs, the ocean, the way we found each other in the chaos. And when they asked how we knew it was worth it, I'd look at Lily, her eyes still fierce, her hand still in mine, and say, because love doesn't just survive, it thrives. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.